Hi everyone. Today I'm going to demonstrate the program Paint, which is actually a very low resolution copy of MS Paintbrush. So I wrote this program back in middle school and I wrote it in 3 phases. So the current program which I'm going to show is of phase 1. So before I start, I'd like to remind you that this program was written in QBasic, and that time DOS was the prevalent OS. And currently the DOS that's provided with our Windows, or the command shell that we get, is a derivative of Windows NT, and is not the actual DOS command.com window. So I use DOSBox emulator for the old DOS. Though it provides the actual DOS environment, but it has got its limitation. Like even if my CPU is running at 100%, I've got some speed issues, and the disk access times are pretty high for this emulator. So anyway, cutting short, let's start by firing QBasic. It's QBasic 1.1, and so here are the 3 files: Paint, Paint2, and Project. I'll start with Paint, which is the first phase of the design. So as soon as we start, it says like gives a message like unum lock and capsule are not working, and then it will give us a small menu of all the keys that are available to us. Like arrow keys can be used to move around, control and all, to color and remove color, and the function keys to save, create a new one, load up old file, or look it into a zoomed out mode, and as escape as quick as it's normal. So let's start. So as you can see, it's a grid-like structure where each of the grids represents an actual pixel. So technically, if these grids were of size pixel 1, then it would have been an actual paintbrush file that we see right today. So if I move my cursor to menu, it gives us a menu like it says delete, open, save. Then and the help section, it just tells what to do and what not to do. The color values I'll come to a bit later. So presently the color is white. I can press Ctrl and start drawing. So my cursor will move, but as if I don't press Ctrl, the box won't get colored. So Ctrl, 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 then alternate, 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 alternate. So currently the color is white, which is 1. So white. If I press 2, the color changes to brown. If I press 3, the color changes to yellow. If I press 4, the color changes to red. If I press 5, it changes to green, and so on. So let's go ahead and load up previously drawn file. I press F1 and I get a list of files which I can use. Say I will load pyramid. I type pyramid and say it starts loading, and there it is. So once I have this file, I can move around. I can actually, if I want, I can change something, or I shouldn't. So let's see how it looks when I look it in the zoom out mode. So I press F6 and it removes all the grids, and it's the picture which I can take up in screen or something. Going back, so let's open another file which is a house. It should be a bit more colorful than the pyramid one, and here it is. So if I look in F6, that's nice. Okay, so the problem with this file was moving the cursor around every time and then pressing Ctrl for every block was a bit difficult. For a starter, it's okay. So in the next iteration, I generally try to improve those things. And in QBasic, I couldn't program the mouse properly, and it's very long back. So the keyboard was the only method which I could use to draw pictures. Okay, that's it. Let's close it and move to the next program. Okay, moving on to phase 2. So that will be Paint 2. In Paint 2, I improved certain parts, like let's run and find it out. So similarly, we are greeted with the same warning message, but it changes the control layout, and now there is a new concept of activating and suspending of paint mode. Similarly, like let me go and show it to you in practice. So as you can see in the bottom left, it says paint mode activated. So what happens in this mode, when the mode is activated, if you move your cursor, it will start drawing. So you can change color in between. So I stop, I press 2. So the color is brown. If I start moving a cursor, it will start drawing in brown. If I change the color again, I change the color again, I change the color again, I change it again. So, and if I press Ctrl again, then the paint mode is suspended. So I can move around my cursor, but it won't paint. Similarly, if I press alternate, what will happen is like the erase mode is activated. So now if I move over any given grid, it will just erase the color. So this was the changes that I brought in Paintbrush phase 2, and apart from it, certain other features were like if I try to load a new file, it will pop up and say, do I want to save the unchanged file or not. So it was like kind of, if you are escaping or quitting the program, the program will ask you if you want to save or not, certain checkpoints in between. So these are very minor changes. So I won't change, and if I load the house, I'll get to see a pretty similar whatever I saw in the last time. So no difference whatsoever in the overall layout, but the way we draw is changed. Like I can erase everything pretty quickly. Instead of pressing Alt for like some 100 times, I can just press Alt and move around my cursor and it will keep erasing. So let's quit. No. Okay. So let's move to phase 3. Moving on to phase 3, the final version of Paintbrush that I wrote in QBasic. So I'll start by opening the file, which is project.bash. Before I start, I'll like to tell you something. DOSBox, though is a good emulator for DOS, has some difficulties. Like certain of the DOS commands, like dstar.star, doesn't work in this emulated environment. As a result, few of the functionality of the program has been crippled and it might result in some errors. I'll try to avoid them, but at the same time I like you to know that there might be some problems if you try to run the program on your own. So let's start the program. So as you can see, the interface looks very close to the modern Paint as we know. So at the top we have those menu which we can access by pressing alternate F, and then we can move around using the keyboards. You can also see there is a small cross at the extreme right, which is the cross button. So if I move out the menu, what it will do, it will try to cache whatever is currently drawn on the screen, and as a result you can see the time value over here is not shown. It means it's actually caching whatever it was or is drawn on the screen, and it takes a hell lot of time to do it because DOSBox has some problem with disk access times. So again, if we press alternate E, it can go to the edit menu and then we can move around and select. So if I press escape, it will again take some time. Okay, let's wait. So in the meantime, you can see there are a few tools on the left hand side. The first one is a pencil tool, then is a line tool, then is the eraser tool, and at last we have the box tool. At the bottom we have the foreground color and background color at the extreme bottom left, and then there is a palette of colors of 16 colors actually. Then it shows the time, current time, and the row and column. Similar to the concept of paint mode activation and deactivation, in this case if we press tab, you can see the blue block on pencil goes out and we can move the pencil without actually drawing something. So if I press tab again, the blue block is on, and whenever I move my pencil, it will actually draw something. So it's drawing. Now if I want to change color, what I'll have to do, I'll have to go press alternate T and I'll have to say colors. So it will fire up the color module, but before that it will again save the entire thing and it takes a bit of time. Please bear with it. If you see on the bottom left what has happened, I can now choose whether I want to change the foreground color or background color. Let's say I change the background color to say pink. So the background color changes to pink, and now over top of it, it will draw whatever I had drawn earlier. So I'd like to change the foreground color too. So I press alternate F and tools, colors, and it's a bit difficult to write, but please bear with it. Okay, so it's highlighted. I can select the foreground color and say I make it green. So on a pink background, I'll draw with green. And my cursor comes back, and yes, it's back. So I'll move a bit away and start drawing. Yes, I can draw in green. Now other thing, like in the tools, I have line tool. So what the line tool does is I can draw lines between two given points. So let it fire. Yes. So here is my cursor. So if I press enter once, it will start marking a line. You can see in the dotted fashion. I can move around and say I'll have a slanted line. Okay, I have a slanted line. Yes, I do have a slanted line in green color on a pink background. I can even use features like cut and copy. So let's say I'll copy something. So I select edit and copy. Now I'll have to select a copy box. So I move around. Say I'll copy a portion of the box. So I press enter and I select the portion and I say press enter again. So it has copied that part into clipboard. Now if I say edit and paste. DOSBox is really slow in disk access, and problem is while caching the things that's drawn on the screen, I use the disk because in those days QBasic only had 1 MB of memory. So now I can move around my cursor. It's having the paint box over there. If I press enter, it just pasted a copy of it. So that's all for the tools. I can also show you the box tools, which are very similar to the box tools you see around. If I try to save the file, and it will cause some problem because the functions like read star or file star dot something doesn't work. Yeah, as you can see, invalid file and file not found. So this star.pvf command doesn't work from over here. Nevertheless, that's all I had to show you. I hope you liked it. Thank you.